Hi there, welcome to the Sam Sorbo Show. Today, I just thought I would share some thoughts about parenting and homeschooling that have occurred to me over the past couple of weeks. I just sort of save these things up and then I just get to a little bit overflowing and I have to share. So, interesting thing happened to me the other day, actually, just to kick things off. So, I was on a podcast with some folks who wanted to talk to me specifically about homeschooling. I'm, of course, promoting this movie. And so they had that set up, but they also had teed up to talk to me about homeschooling because they just started homeschooling this year. Praise the Lord. Anyway, the wife had like specific questions for me, but in prepping for the interview, she had, back it up. In starting to homeschool this year, she had joined a couple of like homeschooling groups just to get to know the community a little bit. This is something that I actually suggest to people: join some homeschooling groups. And now I suggest it with the caveat: be careful which homeschooling groups you join. Because I've heard that there are some not great homeschooling groups out there, but I've never really come up against it because, well, I'm not really in very many myself. I curated the ones that I wanted and then I left the rest of them alone. So she went into her homeschooling for beginners group. It's a homeschooling for beginners. And she posted, and she did this actually in two groups. So one was for beginners exclusively, and the other one was a generalized homeschooling group. And on both of them, she posted the same question: Hi, I'm going to be interviewing Sam Sorbo. Let me know if you have any questions you would like me to ask her. And on the other homeschooling group, she got questions like, well, ask her about socialization. How is my child going to get, well socialized? And stuff like that, and curricula, whatever. But on the first one, the homeschooling for beginners, she was just kicked off the group. She was just excluded. She was persona non grata for asking if anybody had any questions for me. I mean, it's the order of events. So correlation is not necessarily causation, but I think in this case, you can't really avoid it. So I don't know. There's a little part of me that considers that a badge of honor. Is that bad of me that I'm getting, that I'm grateful to get under people's skin? So the moral of the story is for you guys: beware, because the homeschooling scene, like many of the various, avenues, has been infiltrated. And so there are Marxists inside the homeschooling movement. And generally speaking, there are people of every political persuasion who homeschool. But there are people who don't want you to homeschool, who are inside the movement. And their goal is not to make it easy, but to help make it so difficult that you will resign and send your kids back to school. So do be careful. Be careful about the advice that you're getting. Make sure it's from a trustworthy source. I guess that's my message today. Okay. So another story that I wanted to share with you guys. I was at an event and a man came up to me, and he's political. This was a political event where I was speaking, and he came up to me to chat about, and of course, speaking politically, I talk about education because we are losing our culture to education. And that means that our politics is following, because politics follows the culture. So he came up to talk to me about the event and about, he liked what I had to say about home education, and, just a general chat. And I said, oh, so you homeschool? And by the way, his 9-year-old daughter was with him. So I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you, Abigail. And so you must homeschool then. He said, no, she goes to a really good public school. And I said, oh, okay, define good. And then as we started to get into this conversation, I realized I needed to say some things to him that I didn't think that little Abigail should hear. So I turned to her politely and I said, listen, Abigail, there's something that I want to talk to your dad about that you probably shouldn't be around for. So would you mind just waiting over there for us to finish our conversation. I think it would just be better that way. And so she acquiesced, and she went over 10 feet away and just waited. And every once in a while she turned around to me, but we had a chat, and I said to him, my general spiel, how homeschooling really is parenting, how he is better equipped than he can possibly imagine to educate her. And the fact that he was bringing her to an event where she would learn stuff was like a sign of that. However, sending her away from him to school every day and then forcing her to come to an event such as this one was bordering on rude. Like I think it taxes the relationship rather than cementing it. And I mean, it was very clear that this young girl was bored just out of her skull. Like she was just annoyed. So we had that chat. And, I just wanted to say, come on now, man up, be a dad, grow a pair, take control, take charge. Right. And so we were done. And I turned to Abigail and I said, hey, okay, come back. And she just scowled at me. She was not interested in speaking with me. I said, no, really, come back over. She's like, no. Shook her head, folded her arms, like defiance to the max. And I was like, huh, okay. He said, wait a minute. And he walked over and he talked to her. And I heard him say, so go over and say goodbye. And she just looked at him and said, no. And he turned to me and he just went, what are you going to do? And it kind of breaks my heart. That is not a father. And it's funny because I told my kids and my son immediately started just ranting. Oh yeah, because she's 9. So clearly she makes all the decisions in the house, that kind of a thing, like getting really sarcastic. And I just, folks, be the adult that your children want you to be, and understand they want you to be the adult. They might not like it, but they will love it. There's a difference. You don't want your children to like you. You want them to love you. And they will love you for your strength, not for your weakness. So that was just an example that I had of a parent just lying down on the job. Well, the kid's made up her mind. There's nothing I can do. Yes, there is. And it looks something like, listen, young lady, you are to go over there and apologize for being so rude. And you will say, thank you for talking to my dad. I hope you have a good day. And then we will leave. And after that, we can go and do the thing that you want to do. But if you're not going to do that, then we will not be going and doing the thing that you want to do. Are you ready to accept the consequences of your decision? Whatever that is. And understand that, with kids, it's always a negotiation, basically. You're in negotiating full time when you're a parent. And you just have to recognize what are the parameters. And I'll share with you, my son was acting out. I can't remember. He was quite young, but he was acting out and doing something that was disruptive or whatever. And I told him not to do it. And the first thing that came to my head was if he did it again, we would not go to our little book club, which was fun. It was fun for me because I got to sit with the moms and have a little bit of a discussion time. And that was fun. And the kids went off and they played and they were occupied and they had fun. Right. So I figured this is the perfect sort of threat to make because he really wants to go to the kids' time. Well, I was wrong. This was a big lesson for me because he continued to do the thing I was telling him not to do. And then I had to enact the punishment, the consequence, which I had labeled as not going to book club, which meant mommy didn't get to go to book club. So you see how but here's the thing. Because I didn't compromise there, because yes, I had labeled it, therefore he was not going to a book club. There was no way I could go without taking him. So that was a done deal. I had to suffer the consequences. So I actually taught myself a lesson at the same time. Don't give consequences that you're not ready for, that you're not prepared to accept should that come to pass. And I never did it again. Every time I gave consequences, I made sure that I would not be impacted negatively by the consequences. So we really need to get to, I've harped about this quite a bit, the fact that we are no longer a parented society. We have lost our parenting skills. We have lost the generational memory of parenting, such as it was. And I'm not saying that all parents were excellent all the time, but there were certain tried and true, there were certain standards and practices that were fairly universal. And perhaps some of them were bad. Perhaps some of them we've lost to our credit. But nonetheless, we've lost so much to our detriment. So, and it saddens me because here's the thing. If a little girl grows up with a dad who's not a good, strong dad, how's she going to choose a man? She has nothing to compare him to. How will she value herself if she isn't valued for who she is by her parents, particularly her father? And of course, I speak as someone who grew up basically without a father. And I'm not sure how I figured it out, and I found the right guy. I guess there's some what's the word I'm looking for? Celestial design in that, or some luck, as some people say, which I don't believe in luck. But yeah, I think you have to step up and be the parent. I think you have to be purposeful. Maybe that's the book I should write, Purposeful Parenting. Because if you hold the bar high, kids love to jump for that bar. If you hold it too high, they know they'll never reach it. If you hold it just high enough, they want to reach it, and then you move it. And when they start reaching it, you move it again. And if you don't have a bar, how are they ever going to know that they've succeeded? Like, you're robbing them of the chance to succeed if you don't have a goal set for them. So, let's see. It was those two stories. I guess that's it. So, I hope that you gained something from this today. And as always, you can send in your questions. I think I've got another Ask Sam coming up sometime in the near future. So hopefully we'll get some questions in and I can answer them. But for the time being, keep on. Take the kids, by the way, before I go, talk to another couple today. And they said to me, under no uncertain terms, they said, we are taking our children out on the 12th of November. And I was like, well, why on the 12th? Because they had determined that there was too much bad stuff that was happening in the schools and it was negatively affecting their two children. And I said, why not take them out today? Like, the negative stuff, it boggles my mind that people don't think logically enough to understand, if you've made the decision that something is bad, why would you expose your child to it for one more instant? Why? Take them out. They're not on some kind of treadmill where they're going to lose time, lose momentum, lose whatever. They're not, especially young kids. I think these are like second and third grade. I said, take them out today. Get that other stuff figured out later. Well, it turned out that they had hired a teacher, and the teacher was starting to work on the 13th or whatever, right? And so at that point, they're using the school as a babysitter, but they think that the school is evil. So they're still employing an evil babysitter instead of just taking their kids out and maybe finding a nanny for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is, right? How easily we sacrifice our children. Too easily. And they are there to make us better adults. So my encouragement to you today is embrace it with peace and calm, and just embrace it. But head on. Okay, that's it for me. This is Sam Sorbo. This is the Sam Sorbo Show. And thank you so much for listening.